Here's one towards the goal. That's going to be gloved by Travis Ridgen. Well, this is more like it.
This is Slangin The Bizkit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
You've seen Anchorman, right?
Of course, know it well.
You know the fight scene?
Yeah.
That escalated quickly. That really got out of hand fast. Brick killed the guy. You might want to lay low for a while. They're probably looking for you right now.
Maybe stay with some family or some close friends. I love Lamp.
I love Chair. Brick, are you just saying you love things that you see? Yes.
That movie, actually, if you want to see a different cut of that movie, it's called Wake Up Ron Burgundy. Like, the script that they had written had nothing to do with what you actually saw and continue to love on streaming services to this day. It is a completely different cut of the movie. It has to do with a bank robbery, if memory serves me correctly. There are completely different actors in it, and it's available on YouTube. It's called Wake Up Ron Burgundy.
And how is it? What's the review?
Oh, man. Thank God they did this improv rip and gave us Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy instead, because it's become exactly that, just legendary. But, yeah, Wake Up Ron Burgundy. It's worth the watch just to see where it came from.
You know, number 2, when they're driving the RV, and then Ron starts making comments, who left the bowling balls out? Wow, it's really unfortunate that we have a 500-degree deep fryer. Who's driving the van?
They went a little, I don't want to say overboard. The problem was with number 2, it was a good movie, but there was no shock value because nobody saw Anchorman coming. Like, nobody saw it. And then everyone had an expectation of what the second one was going to be, and it was just missing that nouveau kind of feel about it. Like, we knew all the characters, we knew what to expect from them, and we got what we expected out of them. And it was a good movie, but it didn't impact as much as the first one.
Yeah. Well, the first one was a fantastic movie, like you said. I love San Diego. I'm Ron Burgundy? Question mark? Who put the question mark and then the teleprompter?
Why do we tell you Burgundy will read anything? And San Diego means whale's vagina.
What a movie. Hey, did you see in the comment section last week? Somebody left a comment that said, wow, that guy that you have in the podcast in Winnipeg, he's got an incredible voice for radio. You might want to give that a go and see if you can make a career of it. You see that comment?
You know what? The guy's right. I'll give it a shot. See how we do. Might take me a little while, but I won't disappoint you, I promise.
Oh. Well, if you're new joining the podcast, my name is Travis Ridgen. I'm the former number 33 for the Watertown Wolves in the FPHL. I'm here in Watertown, by the way, at the Ramada Hotel Motel Holiday Inn. You can see these curtains behind me if you're on the video version. If you're on the audio, hopefully you can hear them. These things are older than me. They might even be older than Dave, to be honest.
I think those are the exact same ones that are across all the hotels that I visited when I was playing hockey. So glad to see that things haven't changed a whole lot.
Some things never change. But where are you, Mr. Wheeler? Where are you calling in from?
I am in the land of confusion. Thank you, Genesis, because what do you mean your former team? Let's fill everyone in here. What do you mean former team, the Watertown Wolves?
Whoa.
Easy, well, you brought it up. No, don't you tell me to calm down. You brought it up.
Well, we got some spicy stuff we're going to talk about later on in the show. But we got to get to a couple things first. Number 1, my co-host, Dave Wheeler, he's got the number 1 morning radio show in the city of Winnipeg. He has for 20 years, plus slicing and dicing it up over there at Energy 106. Love his morning show. And I'm a former Watertown Wolf, member of the FPHL. Now, you're going to be asking, Trav, why are you a former member of the Watertown Wolves? Why are you a former Wolf, now a new type of Wolf? And why are you at the Hotel Motel Holiday Inn? Right? Well, we're going to get to that. But first, you're going to have to help us out. The Patreon page for the podcast, it's a great way to support the show. You get some awesome exclusive perks from a sweater, Slangin The Bizkit sweater. You're going to get a mug for your morning coffee. Have that cup of Joe Nice and Hot and that Slangin The Bizkit mug, as well as exclusive holographic and regular printed trading cards. You're going to love them. They are all included when you join the Patreon page for $5 a month, as well as exclusive episodes that have been deleted from the show publicly, but you can access them, again, for $5 a month. And that will help on the next part of the journey for Dave and I when I get out of the Hotel Motel Holiday Inn.
Yeah, listen, I'm on Patreon as well. You can search Wheeler After Dark, and that's just a fun little after-hours podcast I do with my wife and a couple of buddies. And we don't have as many cool perks as Travis. We don't have jerseys, we don't have hoodies, we don't have mugs, so definitely sign up to be a Patreon member at the Slangin The Bizkit, because we've been getting compliments on how good those sweaters are.
They're actually super comfy. Our play-by-play Jeff, remember Jeff, our Short King, who's play-by-play announcer of the year last year? Mm-hmm. I was just at former team dinner, and Jeff was asking for a sweater. So Jeff, this is my reminder when I edit the show to ship you a sweater.
There you go. Amazing. By the way, since we're throwing out everything that we do here and there, I'm also a part-time dog therapist.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So imagine that you've got a dog and it's not a puppy anymore. It's 2 years old or older, and you're just like, well, can't teach an old dog new tricks. I guess I'll have to deal with my dog eating off of my dinner table or jumping up on friends when they come to the house every time it's the dog. You call me, I come in, and I fix you, because usually it's not the dog, it's you that's the problem. And I just ended up working the other day with this 140-pound Newfoundlander named Mulligan. Great name. And she, the dog owner, she was very passive, had this idea that, well, I just don't want the dog to be mad at me. Like, this is her companion, right? So she's treating it more like a human. And the dog's just doing what he thinks she wants. And so every time she would sit down on the couch, this big bear of a dog would just come over and completely, and like, she was gone. Like, you couldn't see her. And she's like, okay, Mulligan, off. And this little docile voice, off. And so we worked on her confidence, and that when Mulligan would approach the couch, she would stand up and say no, and put her hand down and say, no, Mulligan, lay down. And guess what? The dog would lay down. It didn't do it right away because it's used to the routine of jumping up on the couch all the time. But the second that we put a barrier up there, the dog's like, cool, I'm just here to make you happy as long as I'm in the same room. This is great. If I don't have to maul you all the time and give you a big hug, that's cool. So just a lot of times it's just understanding what the relationship is between the human and the dog, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So that's kind of what I do. And I come from a long line of people in my family that have done that. My aunt it was just up the road actually in Cornwall, Ontario, goes to Westminster most years and is part of that whole community. So yeah, it's another little side hustle I have.
Are you going to come to Vancouver and help train my future baby beagle in the summer?
Sure. Yeah, by the way, isn't your mom a little concerned about your beagle factory enterprise?
Yes, we'll talk about the Sea Wolves in a second, which you can tell from the title of this podcast, but hold on for 1 second. My mom is very concerned because I talked about I'm going to get 2 purebred beagles right this summer in Vancouver. I'm going to breed them, and I'm going to get a bunch of puppies, and I'm going to sell them for a couple of bucks, $200-300 a head. I've come to the realization that you can't do that with 2 adult beagles and babies in a 500 square foot apartment in Olympic Village or Kitsilano or North Vancouver in that area. Too expensive. And also with food, flu shots, vaccines, I am going to be at a loss. And also it's not maybe the best investment for my future career. So to my mother who listens every week.
South Surrey. Go move to South Surrey. The real estate's a lot cheaper in there.
I don't know if I want to run the risk. I feel like I might get stabbed if I go out past 5 p.m. I mean, that's most of Canada these days. But
well, listen, if we're going to quote movies, let's quote Hangover when Zach Galifianakis was giving his speech on the roof and talked about how his one-man wolf pack is now swollen to 4, or however he so profoundly put it. But yeah, you went from being from one pack of wolves to another pack of wolves.
To the aquatic version, to a sea wolf. The sea wolf, the Mississippi variety. Now, let's back things up. Because if you listened to last week's episode of the show, I got my first FPHL start for the Watertown Wolves against the Binghamton Black Bears, which I think all things considered went very well from my perspective. And I think talking to my goalie coaches and the people that actually matter, not internet trolls, I think it was a smashing success. It's unfortunate coach decided to pull me after 2 goals and not give me an opportunity to finish the game and show my character like we talked about. But all things considered, I think it was a success. And to now, where hot off the press right now is Tuesday, and yesterday I got dished. So, long story short, I was traded from the Watertown Wolves yesterday to the Port Huron Prowlers, only 45 minutes down the road from my former employer, the Motor City Rockers, in return for Dalton Anderson, defenseman for the Port Huron Prowlers, coming back to Watertown. Now, Dalton, I don't mean this to be disrespectful. I don't know you. I don't really know anything about you. I know you're a defenseman, so I wish you nothing but the best. He will be moving into my apartment where I was living with Watertown. I went to Port Huron. Now, before we talk about retiring my jersey and making me a part of the Ring of Honor for the Port Huron Prowlers, I lasted about 45 minutes. This may be the shortest tenure in FPHL history. I lasted 45 minutes, and I was dished immediately from the Port Huron Prowlers to the Mississippi Sea Wolves. Who owns that team? Who is the player, owner, general manager, productions manager,
now,
coach?
I dare to speculate. Does this reunite a guest that was on the podcast last year, the legend, the man? You want to talk about the legend of Ron Burgundy, the legend of Joe Pace, might be equivalent to that of Ron Burgundy. Are you two now officially playing for the same team?
I'll do one better. Tupac Shakur and Snoop Dogg. It ain't nothing but a gangster party over here in the Mississippi Sea Wolves in Biloxi.
Amazing. Now, okay, let's go through the roster here real quick. So, Motor City, Virginia.
Whoa, you got to back it up, Dave. Way before. So, my first taste in the Fed was with the Columbus River Dragons in their inaugural season in camp in 2019.
So, we got Columbus, we got Motor City, we got Virginia, we got Watertown, we got Port Huron, and
now it was 45 minutes, yep.
And now Mississippi. How many teams are in the league?
11.
Well, you're now officially over half, but I will tell you there is an easier way to meet every guy in the league rather than showering with all of them. Just so you know.
How's that?
You could just say hi to them on the ice and not play for every single team.
I'm trying to capture as many jerseys as I possibly can, though.
Yeah, apparently, man, oh man, that wall of honor that you're going to have in your basement, many years down the road is going to be full with Ridgeon jerseys.
I got to give a shout out though to the Port Huron Prowlers, to Matt Graham, their player coach, and as well as Alex Johnson. They threw up a post on the Port Huron Prowlers Instagram page, and you'll see the little clip or the photo on the video version of the show on YouTube, which you should be watching on if you're on Apple or Spotify. But they put out a post. Thanks for the memories, Travis. Best of luck in Mississippi. And I followed up with a comment of, it may have been short, but I will never forget the memories we made together in my time in Port Huron, all 45 minutes of it.
Amazing. Amazing. I love it. I just love the quick transaction. And hey, listen, man, we've talked about this numerous times. You're playing with a traveling circus. This is part of the gig, and it's a really cool way to see the world and drag a whole bunch of people along with you with your vlogs and this podcast. So as heartbreaking as it is to call a spade to see you kind of be a suitcase over the past year or so, I'm along for the ride, man. This is kind of fun. I live my life by the mantra of never a dull moment, and you seem to have adopted that very well.
I remember when I was 18, 19, thinking to myself, I remember I was watching Titanic and thinking, I wish I could live a life like Jack Dawson, just traveling around the world, bouncing from place to place, finding a way to stay afloat and having fun. And be careful what you wish for, because it has absolutely come true. And I've been very fortunate, and I mean this in all sincerity, I've been very fortunate to travel, Sweden and the Gothenburg, the Stockholm side, to get a cup of coffee in Norway, to being around the Fed in multiple places throughout the United States, to traveling Canada for college hockey, for different road trips, even like content creating, podcast or YouTube stuff, or even networking with different goalie coaches, which led me to living in Vancouver, which is the place I want to call home for a very long time. I've been very, very fortunate to live the lifestyle and get the opportunities that I have. So if you're listening to the podcast, thank you to Mr. Wheeler. You make this possible every single week, and if you watch the vlog, same thing. It is all possible because of sharing this journey in video and I guess audio format as well. So I am beyond blessed, and I think also too, what is very fitting here, Dave?
Do tell.
So the hotel that I'm in right now, the Hotel Motel Holiday Inn, the Ramada in Watertown, this really is full circle, because last year with Motor City, we came here and we stayed in this exact same hotel for my first time into Watertown. And now fast forward, that road trip led to me, making the connections that I did. Long story short, getting traded to Watertown and being here. And now I'm in, again, the Ramada, 2 days left in town, and then I'm going to be out of here on the next adventure, and it comes full circle again, coming into the Ramada and out of the Ramada and on to the next adventure.
Well, now that your tenure is done in Watertown, there was a handful of missions that you needed to do while you were there, and the most important one to me that I can remember most is the guy whose beer cup pyramid that you knocked over. Did you end up buying him a beer?
I could not track this man down.
Failure!
But you want to know which way you could not become a failure, Dave?
Oh, I think I have an idea. I think I might actually be wearing them right now.
Really? Tell me about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are shopping for a him in your life, please do yourself and them a favor and get Sheath Underwear. This is going to make their Christmas. They are the most incredible pair of underwear that I've ever worn. And believe me when I tell you, I've worn so many pairs of underwear, I've worn other people's underwears, including with their names on it, like Calvin Klein. There is nothing that compares to what has been done to take care of your twig and giggleberries, okay? Bamboo mesh, this thing was designed by a pro, a guy who knows what it takes to make sure you're comfortable in your own skin, and it feels like that. Sheath Underwear. Use the code BISCUIT69 and get yourself, or get your man, get whoever the him is in your life, a pair of Sheath Underwear for Christmas, please.
Or treat yourself for Christmas, especially that dual pouch technology, that separated compartment that keeps your dick and your balls not stuck together, not touching, not bat winging on the side of your leg, keeps them compartmentalized the way that they should be. And like Dave said, use that code BISCUIT69, that is BIZKIT69 for 20% off the greatest pair of underwear money can buy, only from the team at Sheath Underwear. There's a link in the video description on the YouTube version, as well as the podcast notes on Apple and Spotify. And goddamn, am I going to need them when I get out of town in 2 days for this road trip.
No kidding. I mean, so much for a winter jacket. Now, hey, you know how much I love doing this. I'm going to get my my typing digits ready here. So if I remember correctly, the Mississippi Sea Wolves are out of Biloxi.
Biloxi, Mississippi.
Mississippi. I know how to spell that. All right, Biloxi. Biloxi is a Mississippi city on the Gulf of Mexico. I'm familiar with the Gulf of Mexico. It's known for its casinos. Biloxi and the Lighthouse stands next to Biloxi Beach on the Mississippi Sound. The maritime and seafood industry. Oh, you're going to get yourself some seafood. Museum offers exhibits on boat building and seafood processing. The Beauvoir Estate and Jefferson Davis Presidential Library explore the life of the Confederate leader, offshore Deer Island shelters, pelicans, and loggerhead turtles. I'm in. You got a population of just shy of 50,000 people. This looks good, man. You're on the Gulf. This is cool. I'm really excited.
It's like the population of Brandon, Manitoba, which ain't that bad. And then also
bigger than Brandon, actually. Brandon's only about 35.
I thought Brandon was 50.
Nah.
Well, one thing that Brandon doesn't have is when you walk out of the rink, you get past the parking lot and you can dunk your feet in the sand, sit in a beach chair the rest of the day after practice. That sounds pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a beautiful spot, man. You got New Orleans just about, I'd say about 2 hours away. You got Mobile, Alabama, not too far away as well. Oh, yeah, man. Baton Rouge is probably about a 4-hour drive. This is great.
Southern hockey.
You know what? I'm more likely to come visit you down there than I was in Watertown.
I could sell all my winter clothes. Like these pants that I have on right now, if you're in the video version of the show, gone. Sideline swap tomorrow. I don't need them. Shorts and shorts only.
So give me a breakdown on, do you know, are you living with Joe Pace, or are you sleeping at the end of the bed with his beagles? What's going on?
That would be funny if me and Joe were sharing the same bed, huh?
Right? Listen, if you're going to own a team together, certain things have to be talked about first.
I was going to say, if we are going to buy a team by 2030, we got to get really familiar and comfortable with each other. And I think, yeah, sleeping in the same bed might be the great way to start that, don't you think?
So what's your living situation? Do you know?
So, living situation to my knowledge, and again, my apologies if I get any information incorrect here to Joe Pace and to the Seawolves. It's been a long 2 days here trying to get everything together to get out of town and running on not a lot of sleep. But to my knowledge, from what I remember, they have a team apartment where everybody lives like different units and whatnot, and everybody should be getting their own room, and I should be having my own room as well, which I'm very excited for. As far as the travel goes, now this is the exciting part, Dave. Now, how do you think I'm going to get down from Watertown to Biloxi, Mississippi?
I would assume your closest flight is Nylons.
Nope. I'm not flying.
Oh, then you're going to do your favorite thing in the world. You're going to jump on the train.
No, I'm not taking the train either.
Okay, walk me through it. What are you doing?
Am I hitchhiking? Nope. Rental car.
Oh, okay. All the way down to Biloxi?
No, so I was on the phone with Joe maybe an hour or 2 hours, or actually, yeah, about 2 hours ago, give or take. And the idea that we had was I'm going to hop in a rental car probably Thursday, maybe Friday morning, and I'm going to drive it down from Watertown down to Whitville, Virginia. Mm-hmm. And Mississippi's playing a back-to-back on Friday, Saturday, so I'm going to meet the team probably in Roanoke. They're going to pick me up. I'm going to drop the rental car off, and they'll take me the rest of the way. I don't know if I'm going to dress for the weekend because, I've just spent an entire day traveling, and they also haven't seen me, so I don't know if they're going to dress me, but that would be the plan. They're going to pick me up, and then that's going to be a 9-hour drive from Watertown to Roanoke, as opposed to, Dave, can you Google that real quick? I'm not sure how long the drive it is. It might be like 20 hours. It's going to be a long drive, plus hotel stays and whatnot, so it's going to be a lot cheaper as well, because the train to get me where I needed to go was going to be about a 60-plus hour endeavor, and it's going to ring me up probably around like $1,200 US. But baggage was included, which I did like, and I could stretch out the way I liked. And then flights was going to be probably in the $700 to $800 range, because remember, this is a more last-minute ticket. And then I also got to pay for bags, which are all going to be overweight, and I accumulated a couple more items of clothing than when I left and when I reported to Watertown. So the rental car is going to be, I think, about $400 by the time, rental fee, gas, assuming I don't crash it. Pray to God that nothing bad happens on this road trip, fingers crossed. And I will be in Roanoke and picked up by the team and officially a Mississippi Seawolf by Friday or Saturday night.
Okay, so basically you're going to come down Highway 11. Once you hit Syracuse, you have an option of heading west and going through the long way. Really, it's going to take you way too longer, but it looks like it may have an interstate. If you stay on 11, you'll get on Interstate 81. I would stay on that one. That's going to take you about 9.5 to get all the way down. You're going through Harrisburg, great city. That's the home of the Hershey Bears, just down the road in the American Hockey League. So yeah, you're traveling through. You're going to be west of Washington. You're going to scoot all the way down. So you're looking at about a 10-hour drive with stopping and filling up and whatnot. Yeah,
with gas, piss breaks, coffee breaks, probably like 12 hours by the time we're all said and done.
Yeah. Make sure you just fill up the Gatorade bottles, and I have you seen the Gatorade bomb on the side of it? If you ever find a Gatorade that seems to be almost full of original yellow Gatorade on the side of the road, it's not Gatorade. I promise you, it's not Gatorade.
Let's save time and fuel efficiency. Let's just unroll the window and go on the fly.
Yeah. Pull over. No, it's a cardigan, but thanks for noticing.
In all seriousness, I would appreciate if you read out the entire directions because I don't know if you noticed in the vlog, I don't have a phone plan. I haven't had a phone plan for about 2 months. I've just been living off Wi-Fi, so I'm probably going to need to get a phone plan so that I can have GPS directions and get myself there in case something catastrophic happens. Maybe like Mint Mobile or something. Obviously, the podcast is going to go up before I leave, and it'll be up by the time that I get there. But
yeah, you can just get one of those. Just get a pay-as-you-go chip. You can stop by any convenience store in the continental United States and just swap out your SIM card and go with a pay-as-you-go so you can get it yourself down there.
I gotta be honest, like I'm so cheap during the season. Like my mindset, obviously, with doing the vlog and the podcast is, things are hot during the season, and I get so freaking cheap during the season to try to save as much money as I possibly can, so that I can, survive through the summers when things are slow with the podcast and the vlog. And going without a phone plan is one of those things, and that I get fairly cheap on.
Ooh, the good news is that you're gonna drive through bingo, so you can stop in for Pride Night.
Oh.
You're going to drive through Scranton. You're going to drive through Scranton, PA. You can stop by and see The Office. Amazing.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Thank you, Wayne Gretzky. You're going to be driving through Wilkes-Barre, home of the Wilkes-Barre Penguins. Like I said, you're going to be going through Harrisburg, down through Williamsport. You're going to be going Winchester, small town to small town. The big, you're going to see a whole lot of small towns basically in between Harrisburg and going all the way down to Roanoke.
Let me ask you a question, Dave. You've been with me on this entire journey from when we did our first episode of the podcast, when we announced the Motor City signing, I guess a year and a half ago. You've been with me through Motor City, through the Withville, the expansion draft, all of it. Obviously you have an outsider's view, but obviously I tell you inside information as well, but you don't live it with me, if that makes sense. What do you see? What is your view and your outside perspective of the Fed and my experience so far?
I think that this is there's two questions in there. What do I think about the league, or what do I think about your journey through the league?
As an outsider, what is your viewpoint on, you haven't played in the Fed, but you've seen it through my eyes, I guess through my cameras and through the experiences and the things that I've shared with you. How have you seen my experience, and how do you see the league and the whole, I guess, playing single A? What is your point of view?
I think it's no different than any other league, really. It's if you can, if you want to be there. It's available to you if you want it to be there. You've proven that you want to be there and you're willing to do whatever it takes. And it's been a lot of fun jumping from city to city and town to town and travel to hotel room to when are we doing this podcast? Okay, I have half an hour, my Wi-Fi signal. Okay, let's, all the conversations that we've had back and forth, all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, on top of the fact that, we're learning things about guys that, like Joe Pace, who said, you know what, I'm good, I'm happy. I can do all the things that I need to do here and make a life for myself, which I think is great. There's other guys who are going to pick up a part-time job. There's guys who are going to be collecting empty beer cans around the rink so they can, go catch them in so they can go to the Chino and see if they can double their money. All of it's exciting. It's worthy. I've said this before. The fact that you're able to document all this, I think, is a great service to hockey fans, and especially young guys. We were getting emails from the Jesus-looking goalie there in Massachusetts again. And just, what an inspiration, not necessarily an inspiration, but a guide to, if you really want to play long term and, you're not going to be making the NHL right away, there are other options, but you're going to have to go through some shit to get there. You're going to be in Shawshank Redemption, crawling through a lot of miles of sewer to get to where you want to be.
Well, I took a little bit of shit last week for the speech that I kind of did on, upgrading your character as a man. Remember that speech?
Mm-hmm, of course.
Right? I took a little bit of flack about, this is his latest excuse for not being successful. It's let me back this up for a second. Now, first off, that was an Andrew Tate Top G inspired speech. Love the Top G. Back on that bandwagon. But in all reality, let's be honest for a second here, okay? All the endeavors through Sweden, Columbus, Motor City, Withville, Virginia, or Watertown, Port Huron for all 45 glorious minutes over there, and then now on to Mississippi. Out of all these experiences, everything is temporary. Everything in this lifetime is temporary. The experience is temporary. The team is temporary. The gear that I use, the performances are temporary. The only thing that is permanent and that I get to keep and take with me is the character that I build and the man that I am. And we've documented this over the past 3 to 4 months of all the changes going on in my life, especially in Watertown. I personally, and this is a little bit of reflecting, I've learned so much about myself as a man and as a person the last 2 to 3 months about what really is going on the inside, and what am I doing to make the most of the opportunity to turn myself into the best possible person I can. Because at the end of the day, the Watertown Wolves don't define me as a person, right? The FPHL doesn't define me. This vlog doesn't define me. The only person in this lifetime that defines myself is me. I define myself. I define who I want to be, what I am, how I conduct myself, and I get to ultimately pick how people see me and what I present to the outside world. And that's really the only thing you get to take with you throughout this entire journey. Agree or disagree?
You know what? I literally just started watching the first few minutes of a documentary on Sylvester Stallone. It's called Sly. And he talks about how if you're on a train, right, and you take a lot of trains, this will be a great analogy for you. If you're on a train and you look out the window, it's just shoo, shoo, shoo. It's picture after picture, and you kind of, wow, that's really pretty, and then it's on to the next thing because that thing's moving along pretty good. He goes, that's life. And once you're past that area, it's nothing more than a memory in your mind. And that's the way life is. It's just this snapshot of moments all the way through, and the further you get away, the harder they are to remember. So the fact that you're getting to enjoy and really bathe yourself in all of this chaos is the best way to go about it, and just kind of go, yeah, I'm living the life. I'm doing the thing, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm documenting it all. And the best part is that you actually are documenting this, so years down the road, you're going to be able to go back and go, story time from Dad, kids. Gather around the old 3D hologram here, and I'm going to show you some old things from a channel called YouTube that we had back in my day when Dad played professional hockey. You're going to have those moments at your fingertips, which I think is really cool.
Well, that's a thing that I do think about somewhat regularly is, I'm getting older. I'm 27. I'm slowly approaching 30. The end of my career is coming up eventually, whether we want to admit it or not. Tomorrow, I'm closer to my retirement than I was today, and so on and so forth. It's just the reality of things. And there's going to be a day where I do have a kid or kids, son, daughter, whatever, and I'm going to be able to sit down and say, hey, look, I want to share this experience with you. This is literally through the cameras that I had in the moment. I know you weren't live, but this is what I did. And I can't have standards and enforce them on my kids if I wasn't able to enforce them on myself. Like the discipline, the hard work, the seeing things through. And although, yes, life does suck sometimes, and some opportunities do suck more than the others, some are better than the others, but I was able to weather the storm and make the most of the situation and turn myself into the man that I want to be and that I am proud to become. And honestly, that basically, I think, encapsulates this entire time in Watertown. It wasn't maybe the smoothest, wasn't maybe the most successful, but I think I learned so much about myself as a man, and I have continued to channel the person that I want to become by the end of the season and moving forward throughout the rest of my life. Because, like I said, being a dad and future retirement is coming sooner than I'd like to admit, whether I like it or not. And that's the only way I think there is to look at that.
Well, I mean, sure, but at the same time, I mean, you've already proven that you're in a situation that if you're willing to put out the effort and you're willing to do the things that it takes, I mean, you could play another 10 years if you wanted to, easily 10 years.
Agreed, assuming the body holds up. And here's another point, too, that a lot of the internet trolls miss. Show me one person in this world that they show up on time, they do the little details, they have a positive attitude, they stick with it long enough, they do all those little details right. They may not succeed right away, and they may have a couple failures, but over time, in real time, you will see them succeed. And I think that, honestly, encapsulates my entire hockey career of, all right, failure. All right, a little bit of success. All right, failure. And I just keep going. And although, like I said, I haven't been the most successful of any goalie out there, I do have aspirations to be incredibly successful, and I see myself in a very successful bracket of goaltenders in this league, whether my team in Watertown saw my value or not. I see that, I believe in it, and I cannot wait to bring that to the Mississippi Seawolves and down to the Gulf Coast. I really can't. I cannot wait.
I'm excited, man. I really am. Do you know what your status is going to be on the team? Like, I haven't looked at their depth chart. What are we looking at here? Are you going to be starting day one or what?
So that's a good question. So I don't know what the plan is going to be, assuming the team picks me up in Roanoke on Friday. I mean, I've literally just come off of doing a 1 to 2 day road trip, so I don't know if Joe's going to necessarily be overly confident throwing me in net after that. I probably wouldn't be either, but we'll find out. As far as the goalie situation goes, I got to give a shout out to Joe Shepard. So he, Texas, Corpus Christi, I believe he played NCAA Division III at. Shout out Joe. Former Binghamton Black Bear. Him and I had some good conversations last year in warm-ups when Motor City came to Binghamton. He actually, I think, was in this very similar situation in Binghamton that I was in Watertown, and now he's succeeding in Mississippi. So he's a second, maybe third-year guy. I believe second-year guy. So Joe, looking forward to being teammates with you. And then Liam Murray, who is a rookie, I believe a rookie, with Mississippi. So it's going to be the three of us, and may the best man take the job. I look forward to supporting my teammates and bringing a positive work ethic, on-time reliability, and availability to the Mississippi Seawolves, with the greatest promoter in professional sports, especially professional hockey history, Joe Pace, the Jackie Moon.
Finally, you get to live out the dream of playing with the tropics.
Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl. Trophy's 12 feet high. Mississippi Mega Bowl.
So again, going back to Biloxi, Mississippi. I just love saying it. If you found an area, now obviously Watertown wasn't the one, obviously Motor City wasn't the one, but if you seem to really like Vancouver, you like that coastal kind of feel, I think Biloxi, I'm just warning you, be careful. I think you might fall in love with it.
I do love going to the beach at any time of the day. I do love the water. I do love nice weather. I hate snow. Dave, I grew up in Winnipeg. You know how it is there. I hate snow. I don't want to ever deal with snow ever again. I really don't.
I've had my fill. Okay, so I did Fort McMurray up until I was 16, and then Edmonton, which is not a lot warmer. Calgary, which was nice for a couple of years in college. We had Chinooks there, which was very nice. And then from there over to Lloydminster, which was cold, and then Winnipeg, cold. During the pandemic, my wife and I spent some winters down in Mexico, which was wonderful to the point where we both looked at each other and said, let's do everything we can to try and avoid Canadian summers for the rest of our lives. We're not going to do it this year. We're working on next year.
I feel like, and agree to disagree maybe on this one. In Winnipeg, you have two types of people, and if you listen to the show, you don't know anything about Winnipeg. Winnipeg is the capital of Manitoba, in the dead smack middle of Canada, in the middle of North America.
Middle of the continent, yeah.
Middle of the continent. What is it? 10 kilometers east, we have the middle of North America. That landmark outside of
Landmark, Manitoba. Yep.
Landmark, Manitoba. There we go. Yep, makes sense. Mm-hmm. But in Winnipeg, there's two types of people. You have the people who Winnipeg is what they love. It's what they have always known. They're not really interested in seeing anything better, and that's all they're ever going to be is Winnipeggers. And then you have the other people like myself who, I love Winnipeg. I'm a patriotic Winnipegger, especially whenever I leave, but I have bigger aspirations for the Mississippi, playing for the Seawolves, going to Sweden, living in Vancouver, all these other kind of cool things. There's really two types of breeds because Winnipeg never changes. It's always the same. Every time I come back, everything is the same. Maybe a couple buildings pop up, but that's about it.
I'll tell you what, I'm actually going to send you some pictures right now just for proof that we can put up on the video version here. But for the last 40 some odd years, I mean, I was under the belief that if you're going to live in this climate, you got to embrace it. You can't hide from it. And so every winter, my wife and I would go out and stomp snow in our backyard, and we would make a little curling sheet. We'd make a skating rink. We would do all the winter things. I would take my St. Bernard out, who absolutely loved the winter, and we'd go for walks and we'd go tobogganing, and I didn't care what the weather was. I had the gear that I could get outside. There's people that love going on their snow machines in the winter down on the river. There's ice fishing. There are a heap of really cool things to do in the winter that you can only do in the winter. But I'm just getting to the age where I'm like, all right, I've done all the things. I've had my fill. I'd like to go golfing in February. That would be really cool.
That does sound awesome. Nice weather, shorts, golfing. Maybe even in the mountains, like a little like Appalachian Trail, like out of Virginia on the East Coast, or even the mountains by San Francisco.
Where it is in Winnipeg right now, we're floating around zero. We just had a really nice fluffy snowfall, which was beautiful. I took the dog out for a walk. Like, if this is as bad as it got, I could handle it. Like, if this was like end of January, February weather, I'd be totally down. But we have two seasons here in the prairies, and it's winter and construction, and that's it. So I'm in my mid 40s now. I've come to a realization of, you know what, these old knees could use a little more humidity. So that's the goal, man. And I think it is. I mean, especially the generation, like my generation, Gen Xers, the older Gen Xers, they're really starting to adopt that snowbird lifestyle. And for those that don't understand what a snowbird is, it's a Canadian who works their butt off, and after they retire, they get a place down in Fort Lauderdale, and they spend the winter months down there, and they spend the summers back in Canada, because we do have amazing summers, very long days, and they're some of the best. But yeah, as you get older, you realize I'll take the warm weather. The harsh, brutal winters, they start to weigh on you after an amount of time.
You know what also weighs on you, Dave? Not grooming yourself properly.
My beard, it's growing back eventually.
Mustache season 2.
Movember. Anyone who's supporting that, yeah, absolutely. So if you're going to be doing Movember, you're going to need something to trim up the sides to make sure that mustache is nice and popping. So make sure you have a look at the screen if you're watching on the video version. Travis, tell them all about it.
Absolutely. The Manscaped Beard Hedger. Manscaped has been sponsoring the show for quite a while now, and the Beard Hedger is awesome. I taper up my beard and my mustache weekly with it. It's got 20 different lengths. It has a 60-minute battery life, and it is waterproof. And you can go pick one up right now at manscaped.com. Use the code BISCUIT, BIZKIT for 20% off and free shipping only at manscaped.com. There's a link in the video description as well as in the audio podcasting, Spotify, Apple Notes. So pick it up, support Manscaped, and thank you to them for sponsoring the show again.
Hey, just talking a little more pro hockey, a little higher level. Who do you think is going to turn things around quicker, the Edmonton Oilers or the San Jose Sharks?
That's tough. Back-to-back 10-goal games.
Wow.
I think you're having a bad week. Try being the San Jose Sharks.
Holy man.
Make a call. Maybe I can get a call up there before I go to Mississippi.
You know what? It wouldn't be a terrible thing to do because I truly believe, and I couldn't even tell you who the goaltenders are in San Jose right now as far as their depth chart, but it's not doing them any favors for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm going to use Jake Plummer as an example. Anyone remembers Jake the Snake, who played in Arizona for years? The guy was a good quarterback, but unfortunately, he grew up in a culture with the Arizona Cardinals at the time where he learned how to lose. And if you do that to these young goaltenders, they're never going to blossom into the goaltenders that they could become. And not to throw you under the bus, but if the Sharks have, no pun intended, but if they're going to tank the Sharks this year and go for a draft pick, then put someone like Travis in so you can just accept the fact that you're going to lose most of the games. I'm sure Travis would be happy to go in and take a lot of rubber for that number one pick.
I am fairly unreliable and never on time, but damn do I try hard.
And he's got a podcast, so you know, what the heck? Hire the guy.
Yeah, bring some people to the ring. It doesn't hurt, right?
Man, the Edmonton Oilers, though, that's tough to watch. Boy, that's tough to watch.
Yeah, I saw them. They're putting Jack Campbell down in the American League. That's a tough signing. I mean, it feels like every time the Oilers sign a goalie, it's either there's a solution to your problems or there's another buyout and an AHL send down.
I've told you this before. There are some goaltenders that look really good when they get 35-plus shots a night because they're going to let in 3 or 4. It's like, whoa, he faced 38 shots. You know, that's pretty good. It's the goaltender that can handle 12 to 15 and not let in 3 or 4 on 12 to 15. Those goalies are harder to find to play behind a really good team where they're bored in the back end.
Agreed. It's tough to stay sharp, especially when it's just quality chancing with a good amount of time in between those quality chances. So, and I think too, like being a guy who doesn't play often is probably the harder of the jobs. If you're playing every night, it's like, whatever, I suck tonight. I'll be back in tomorrow night, or I'll be back in next weekend. When you're the guy that plays every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, it's tough because it's like, well, if I have a bad game today, well, I'm not going to see another chance in 3 weeks. And hell, maybe they trade me and then they flip me again 45 minutes later. You never know, right?
Well, listen, that's life in the traveling circus, right? So it didn't work out in Motor City? Fine. Didn't work out in Watertown? Fine. Let's see if it works out in Mississippi. What's the worst that can happen?
Here's a real question for you, and please let us know in the comments section how you feel about this. Will the Port Huron Prowlers put my jersey in the Ring of Honor, you think?
I think you have a better chance with Virginia.
Or Columbus.
At least we showed pictures of the rink there. We haven't done anything for Port Huron yet.
Oh, like showing like video of the actual Port Huron rink?
Right.
I got drone video from when in Motor City when we went to Port Huron. So I'll put the drone video on the screen and show everybody what the rink looked like.
There you go. That's where my name lived for about 45 minutes.
Your name lived?
No, yours.
Oh, mine. I did call it home for a very short period of time, although I never stepped foot into the state. But yeah.
Amazing. Well, listen, man, I'm excited. So when, as far as people understand the timeline of things here, when are you going to be with the team in the lineup?
So I could be Friday, it could be Saturday. By the time the podcast goes up, I could have already put on a jersey. I could have had my first start. Who knows? I mean, the things happen so fast. And like we talked about the week before, or last week's episode, I literally had a meeting with our coach in Watertown and was told, you ain't getting in the lineup for a month, dude. And then, we go up and we get beat 9-5 by Binghamton. All right, you're starting tomorrow. Like, things change so fast around here. You never know. So I could be in the lineup this weekend, maybe the following weekend against Columbus for the home opener in Mississippi, but I will be with the team next week practicing and getting ready for games. I guess I don't know when they're going to happen, but like I said, I'm very excited to do this road trip and to play for the greatest promoter in all of professional sports history. There has never been a better, I think, environment for me to succeed than with the Mississippi Seawolves, and also I don't got to deal with snow. Winter's gone. Suck it, Dave. Enjoy shoveling your driveway, you nerd.
Actually, I cooked and the wife did that tonight. Listen,
I do want to say, like
John
Reyes, you make your wife shovel the driveway.
and then I take a picture and say, she's my hero.
Can we tell that story real quick? That's a hilarious story, Dave.
There was a city councilor who took a picture of his wife out the top floor of his house of her shoveling the driveway last year and said, even after working a 12-hour shift as a nurse, she's still shoveling the driveway.
It was a 16-hour
shift. God love my wife. She's a hero. And people are like, Get out and help her, you dick. What are you doing? And he's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, what are you doing? Go out, shovel. Anyways, I do want to send a shout out to everyone in Watertown who listens to this podcast and supports this podcast. Come with us on the journey. Just because Trav ain't playing for the Wolves anymore doesn't mean that you can't keep following this podcast and following the vlog. We love the comments down in the section. Believe me when I tell you, we appreciate all of them. We read all of them. And this is another great way to bolster up the audience too. You've already got some people hangover from Motor City. Now we got the Watertown. Now we're going to go down to Mississippi, grab some more. This is great. Numbers are going up.
Two comments first. Number one, there is a bus bench in Winnipeg off of Pembina Highway with an advertisement of John Reyes and somebody spray painted like a speech bubble of, I think my wife's still shoveling the driveway. Shout out to whoever spray painted that. Beauty. Also, like, John, what are you doing? Why? Help your wife shovel the damn driveway. There's a divorce coming. Number two, like you said, Dave, to the people of Watertown, listen, thank you for the support. You guys have been incredible.
They were great.
Like all the people in Watertown, they love their team. I have had nothing but positive interactions, and I know we're on the video version. Hold on, let me grab this thing I got today, Dave. One sec here.
Is it your number 31 jersey?
No, well, it's one of the how many jerseys that I wore. There's a local girl in Watertown. She's, I think, 10 or 11 years old. She's just a local. Mm-hmm. Her mom sent me a message this morning and said, hey, my daughter was really upset that you got traded. She was crying all morning, and she made a drawing of you. And I'll put it closer up on the video version of the show. But and Dave has already seen it. It's this freehand of basically me vlogging my new mask. And apparently she spent about 35, 40 minutes on this thing. And the detail's incredible. So to her, hold on, she has her name on here. I want to give a quick shout out here. Kaylee Durgan. Thank you so much. That honestly made my day. To all the locals who came to talk to me for the, offering your support during all the games that I was scratched and looking forward to see me play. To Cheryl, who spent $700 again, 1 million Canadian dollars on my jersey last week. Thank you. I'm sorry that you're not going to get to wear it for another game that I have.
That's now a collector's edition. That's great.
Well, I think there's a couple people calling for refunds for their jerseys the other day in Watertown. So, hey, take your money and let's buy a Seawolves jersey. $235. Let's get a 33 Origin in Mississippi white. Let's go, Seawolves.
Can't wait. So by the time we talk to you next week on the podcast, we'll have more details and a better view of Biloxi, Mississippi. And believe me when I tell you, I'm excited for it. You talk about how I've been kind of being a fly on the wall watching this whole thing. I feel like I'm there with you every time I watch one of those vlogs. Make sure you check those out.
And didn't you joke last season? We were talking about the viewership going up, and you said, I think the best way for us to get viewership to go up as fast as possible is for you to go to as many teams as possible. Careful what you wish for, Dave. You've manifested it.
Man, you took that seriously. If you took that direction that well on the ice, you'd be in the show by now.
And on behalf of me and these 45-year-old curtains here at the Ramada in Watertown, I want to say thank you so much for listening to the show. We do a new episode every single Sunday, Dave and I, at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's 10 in Winnipeg, 9 in Calgary, 8 on the West Coast. Please join the Patreon page, support the show. You get some trading cards, an awesome coffee mug, some collector's items, and more, and exclusive episodes. Thank you to Sheath. Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring the show as always, and your support is always forever appreciated. To the town of Watertown, to the people, thank you. I appreciate the hospitality. I seriously do. To the Mississippi Seawolves and to the Gulf Coast faithful, I cannot wait to wear the white, red, and blue, the Rangers colors, and wear that Seawolf. My mask, I can still wear it. We've got the wolf on top. And let's go Seawolves. Dave, take us home.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can tune in to the Wheeler in the Morning with Jasmine Lane and Tyler Carr podcast every single day. Just search that podcast on your favorite podcast platform. See you in Mississippi, y'all.